After Alex's arrest, a chorus of whispers began to follow Samantha and Peter wherever they went. Neighbors, with knowing glances, branded them shameless, asserting that Samantha was only with Peter for his wealth. Peter, they sneered, was a fool for embracing a child that wasn't his own. These barbed comments made Samantha's strolls through town incredibly uncomfortable, though she fought to present a brave front. The hushed conversations and pointed looks were relentless. Samantha knew, with a certainty that chilled her, that she was the subject of endless gossip, every action scrutinized. It was difficult, yet she constantly reminded herself that her choices were born from a desire to do what was best for her child. Peter, too, felt the sharp sting of the rumors. He heard the derisive tones, the voices labeling him naive and blind. But his resolve was unyielding. He was determined to stand by Samantha, regardless of public opinion. His love for her and the baby was his anchor, the only thing that truly mattered. One afternoon, returning from the market, Samantha found herself unwittingly privy to a group of women's conversation. They hadn't noticed her approach, allowing her to catch fragments of their cruel remarks. "Gold digger," they hissed, dissecting her morals with chilling ease. Samantha's heart plummeted, but she pressed on, walking past them with her head held high. An outward display of defiance against the internal turmoil. That evening she confided in Peter about the unsettling encounter. He listened patiently, then gently reassured her. People, he said, would always talk, but their happiness was a sanctuary they couldn't allow such negativity to breach. He spoke of their shared love and the beautiful family they were diligently building together, words that offered a much-needed balm to her wounded spirit. In time, Samantha found herself missing Alex, a void that grew particularly prominent in their shared bed. She yearned for the way he made her feel, a passion Peter, often weary or simply not in the mood, couldn't consistently provide. This disparity left Samantha feeling increasingly frustrated and isolated. Her thoughts drifted to Alex more and more frequently, an undeniable longing for the excitement he had brought into her life taking root. One day, summoning her courage, Samantha approached Peter with an audacious request. She wanted to discuss Alex's release from jail. Peter's initial reaction was a surge of fury and an outright refusal. He couldn't fathom her asking him to free the very man who had inflicted so much turmoil upon their lives. Yet Samantha persisted. She argued that it would be detrimental for their child to grow up knowing they were responsible for her father's incarceration. Regardless of Alex's past actions, she reasoned, their child would undoubtedly resent such a reality. Peter considered her words carefully. He certainly didn't want their child burdened with such a complex and painful family history. With a heavy sigh and profound reluctance, he agreed to facilitate Alex's release. Together, they went to the police station, and following a series of discussions, Alex was ultimately released. He gave his word, promising to stay out of their lives. Yet Samantha couldn't shake a profound sense of relief, intertwined with an undeniable thrill. With Alex now free, her thoughts incessantly circled back to him. She began crafting elaborate excuses to see him, subtly slipping away whenever Peter was at our work. The clandestine nature of their meetings, the delicious thrill of their shared secret, injected a renewed sense of vitality into her. Alex, keenly aware of this unexpected second chance, was eager to redeem himself in Samantha's eyes. He treated her with a newfound consideration, making her feel cherished and special once more. Meanwhile, Peter observed a shift in Samantha. She appeared happier, yes, but also increasingly distant. He redoubled his efforts to bridge the growing emotional chasm between them. Yet an unsettling intuition told him something was amiss. Unaware of her secret rendezvous with Alex, he simply attributed her changed demeanor to the consuming demands of caring for their child and settling into their new life. Samantha's double life grew increasingly complicated. She deeply valued the stability and comfort Peter provided, yet yearned for the passion and thrill she shared with Alex. Torn between the two men, she felt paralyzed, unsure of her path. She tried to immerse herself in her family life, but the magnetic pull toward Alex proved irresistible. Then, one day, Peter discovered a message from Alex on Samantha's phone. His heart sank as he read the words, the painful realization of her infidelity washing over him. He confronted Samantha, his voice strained as he demanded the truth. She broke down, confessing everything, her lingering feelings for Alex, the void of excitement he once filled. Peter was utterly devastated. Betrayal gnawed at him, leaving him bewildered and unsure how to proceed. He loved Samantha and their child, but he couldn't ignore her unfaithfulness. With a heavy heart, he told Samantha she had to make a choice, him or Alex. He declared he could no longer live in a marriage built on deceit. Samantha stood at a pivotal crossroads. She faced an agonizing decision that would ripple through her entire family. She reflected on the life she had with Peter, the security and unwavering love he offered. Yet her mind also drifted to the intense passion and exhilaration she felt with Alex. After days of profound introspection, Samantha made her choice. She decided to stay with Peter and commit to repairing their marriage. She recognized that while Alex ignited excitement, Peter was the one who genuinely loved her and truly cared for their family. She promised Peter she would sever all ties with Alex and dedicate herself to rebuilding their relationship. Peter, though deeply wounded, agreed to give their marriage a second chance. Soon after, Peter's ex-wife, Patricia, found herself missing him. She regretted abandoning their marriage for a younger man, and a profound realization dawned on her. She wanted her old life back. One day, she resolved to visit Peter at his office. She walked in, brazenly declaring her desire to reconcile. But Peter's response was a firm no. He was content with Samantha and had no intention of returning to Patricia. Patricia, consumed by desperation, tried to persuade him further. She recounted her attempts to be with other men, admitting none had worked out. Now, she insisted, she wanted to return to him and mend their past. Peter remained unyielding in his decision. He reminded her of how she had left him and how profoundly happy he was now with Samantha. He flatly stated that he could no longer trust her and would not risk hurting Samantha by going back to her. Patricia then played her final, most audacious card. She reminded Peter that her father owned the company he worked for. With a chilling calm, she threatened to tell her father to fire him if he refused to take her back. Peter was stunned. He had never imagined Patricia would sink to such depths, using her father's influence to coerce him back into a relationship. He struggled to maintain his composure. He told Patricia, his voice steady, that he would not be blackmailed into being with her. He declared he would rather forfeit his job than return to a relationship that was toxic and miserable. Patricia, witnessing her threat fall flat, became even more frantic. She pleaded with Peter, but he stood his ground, unwavering. Patricia, defeated, left, and immediately went to her father, recounting the entire encounter. The very next day, Peter was called into his boss's office. Patricia's father was there looking gravely serious. Peter braced himself for the worst. Patricia's father, unwavering, told Peter that Patricia was his only daughter and that he would go to any lengths for her. He unequivocally sided with his daughter, instructing Peter that he needed to reconsider his decision. Patricia's father then delivered an ultimatum. Peter had 2 weeks to take Patricia back, or he would be jobless. Peter was devastated. He went home and recounted the grim situation to Samantha, who was both furious and heartbroken. They both knew they were trapped in an impossible predicament. Peter and Samantha spent the next few days in a desperate attempt to find a solution. They discussed every option meticulously, weighing the pros and cons of each potential path. Peter knew, deep down, that he couldn't remain in a job where he was being coerced into a relationship he didn't want. Yet the gnawing worry of finding new employment and providing for Samantha and their child was immense. Realizing he had no other viable choice, as finding a comparable job was incredibly difficult, Peter reluctantly decided to concede to Patricia's and her father's scheme. The thought of losing his job was unbearable. This time, he kept his plan from Samantha. He called Patricia and informed her she could move in. The moment Patricia began living with Peter and Samantha, the house transformed into a war zone. Patricia and Samantha were in a constant state of quarrel. Patricia would maliciously brand Samantha a gold digger, which infuriated Samantha. She couldn't tolerate the relentless insults and the suffocating tension. Samantha confronted Peter, declaring she could not bear to share him with another woman. Peter tried to make her understand his impossible situation, explaining that he had done it to secure his employment. He desperately assured her that his feelings for her remained unchanged. But Samantha was beyond reasoning. She was furious and deeply wounded by Peter's actions, feeling utterly betrayed and used. Samantha threatened to leave him. She told Peter she could not endure such a life, constantly fighting and feeling disrespected. She craved peace and stability, not incessant conflict and insult. Peter, desperate to retain Samantha, pleaded with her to stay. He promised to find a way to fix everything, to make things right. He begged her for time to sort things out. Meanwhile, Patricia reveled in the chaos she created. She delighted in seeing Samantha upset and Peter stressed, feeling a triumphant surge that she was finally getting what she wanted. She continued to provoke Samantha, expertly pushing her buttons, tirelessly trying to drive her away. Samantha, feeling cornered and increasingly desperate, confided in her friend about the unbearable situation. Her friend advised her to stay strong and never allow Patricia to win. She reminded Samantha of her inherent worth and encouraged her to fight fiercely for her relationship with Peter. Samantha took her friend's advice to heart, resolving to stand her ground. Samantha was now sharing Peter with Patricia, and the arrangement became utterly unbearable. She told Peter to give her money so she could rent her own apartment, but Peter refused, urging her to calm down. Things escalated to a breaking point when Patricia, in a fit of cruel vindictiveness, called Samantha's daughter a child who didn't know her biological father. That was the moment Samantha snapped. She couldn't bear it any longer. She called Alex, her voice trembling as she poured out everything. Alex, without hesitation, told her to pack her things and come to his place, which she immediately did. When Peter returned from work, he asked Patricia where Samantha and her daughter were. Patricia, barely concealing her overwhelming joy, simply stated they had left, then retreated to her room, triumphant that Samantha was finally gone. Peter tried desperately to bring Samantha back. but she steadfastly refused, telling him she had moved on with Alex. Peter was devastated, knowing he had lost Samantha for good, and there was nothing he could do. At Alex's house, life was far from easy. Alex was a struggling man, doing his best to make ends meet. One afternoon, Samantha, seeing his financial strain, decided to give him all the money she had saved while still married to Peter. Alex, with this unexpected windfall, used it to start a business. He poured himself into making it successful, and Samantha supported him in every way she could, even though their daily existence was tough. Soon, Alex's business began to flourish, and gradually everything started to look up for him and Samantha. With the profits from the money she had given him, Alex managed to expand his business, and they soon moved into a much nicer home. Samantha felt truly happy and secure with Alex, despite their rocky beginnings. Not long after, Samantha discovered she was pregnant again. This time, the news filled her with unbridled joy and boundless hope for their future. She and Alex prepared excitedly for the arrival of their baby. Months later, Samantha gave birth to twin girls. Their arrival brought even more happiness and fulfillment into their lives. Alex was over the moon, and Samantha felt like she had finally found her true place in the world. As the twins grew, Samantha and Alex worked tirelessly to give them a good life. Alex's business continued to thrive, and Samantha lovingly devoted herself to caring for their daughters. The family often spent quality time together, going on outings and cherishing their moments as a united family. Soon, Alex's friends began to mock him, playfully calling him the father of girls. At first, Alex shrugged it off, but the words slowly began to niggle at him. The tipping point came when his mother visited from the village. She recounted to Alex how her friends openly laughed at her, lamenting that Alex had no son to carry on the family name. Alex tried to reassure his mother, explaining that he and Samantha were done having children and were focused on simply enjoying their lives together. But the seeds of doubt had been planted. The very next day at work, Alex found himself constantly replaying his friends' and mother's words in his mind. Back at home, the atmosphere grew tense. Alex's mother was far from kind to Samantha. She disparagingly called her an ex-wife of an old man and boldly claimed Samantha had no rightful place in the house because she had only borne daughters. She relentlessly belittled Samantha, making her feel unwelcome and unloved in her own home. Samantha tried her best to ignore the hurtful comments and focus on her beloved daughters. But it was incredibly difficult. She loved Alex and yearned for their family to be happy, yet his mother's harsh words and constant criticism made it nearly impossible. One day, Alex came home from work and found his mother openly berating Samantha. He saw the pain in Samantha's eyes and felt a pang of guilt. He realized that his mother's harsh words were cutting Samantha deeply. He asked his mother to leave Samantha alone, but she vehemently refused, insisting she was only speaking the truth. Feeling utterly trapped between his profound love for Samantha and his ingrained respect for his mother, Alex felt lost. He desperately wanted to avoid hurting either of them, yet he knew with chilling clarity that something had to change. The tension in the house was unbearable, a suffocating presence that was beginning to affect their young daughters as well. One evening, after another heated argument erupted between his mother and Samantha, Alex decided it was time for a serious, unequivocal conversation with his mother. He calmly explained that he loved Samantha and their daughters, and that they were his family. He then stated with a newfound firmness that if she couldn't accept that, she would have to leave. His mother, seething with fury, stormed out of the house, leaving Alex with a complex mix of relief and profound sadness. He knew it was the right decision, but it still pained him to see his mother so enraged. He turned to Samantha, his voice laced with regret, and apologized for not standing up for her sooner. The next day, Alex's mother returned to the village, and Samantha finally felt a welcome sense of peace settling over their home. But soon, that peace was shattered. Alex began to spend more time with his friends, often coming home late. Whenever Samantha tried to talk to him about it, he would snap at her, asserting that a woman couldn't control him. One day, one of Alex's girlfriends, Angelica, told him she was pregnant. Alex was utterly shocked and immediately told her to get rid of the baby because he was happily married. But Angelica refused, keenly aware of Alex's wealth and sensing a golden opportunity. Alex, feeling trapped and desperate, called his mother. He told her about Angelica's pregnancy, and to his astonishment, his mother was overjoyed. She emphatically told him not to get rid of the baby, convinced it might be a boy, and Alex, swayed by the prospect of a son, agreed. As the days morphed into weeks, Alex grew increasingly distant from Samantha. He spent more and more time with his friends and less time at home. Samantha acutely noticed the shift, her heart aching with sorrow. She tried to talk to Alex, but he simply brushed her off, dismissing her concerns. Angelica, on the other hand, seized every advantage of the situation. She openly flaunted her pregnancy, knowing it would inextricably tie her to Alex. She demanded money and attention, which Alex, with growing reluctance, provided. Samantha eventually stumbled upon Angelica's pregnancy through hushed rumors. She was utterly devastated and confronted Alex, who, seeing no escape, admitted the painful truth. Samantha felt a profound sense of betrayal. She couldn't believe the man she loved had been unfaithful and was now expecting a child with another woman. When Alex went to visit Angelica, she informed him, with a calculated air, that she couldn't stay far from the father of her unborn child. She insisted that the baby desperately needed him. Alex, not wanting his child to be kept away from him, reluctantly agreed. Angelica moved in, and soon after a scan revealed she was indeed carrying a boy. She was overjoyed and immediately relayed the news to Alex. Alex was undeniably happy, and his attention began to significantly shift towards Angelica, knowing she was carrying the son he had always dreamed of. Samantha felt an overwhelming wave of frustration and betrayal. She couldn't believe Alex would treat her this way after all she had done to help him become successful. She confided in her friend, who advised her strongly not to leave her husband for any gold digger and assured her that everything would eventually be all right. Alex's mother returned from the village to stay with Angelica due to the impending arrival of the baby. The house, already strained, became an unbearable place for Samantha. Whenever Alex was absent, either Angelica or Alex's mother would launch into insults. If it wasn't Angelica calling her names, it was Alex's mother making snide remarks about Samantha's daughters and their future prospects. Samantha tried repeatedly to talk to Alex about it, but he simply brushed her off. He told her to stop complaining and be appreciative that he still allowed her to stay in his house. This cruel response wounded Samantha deeply, but she felt utterly trapped. She didn't want to leave and abandon her marriage, but living in the house was rapidly becoming intolerable. Days bled into weeks, and the tension in the house escalated further. Angelica and Alex's mother seemed to take malicious pleasure in making Samantha's life as difficult as possible. Despite the agonizing situation, Samantha focused all her energy on her daughters, striving to provide them with as much love and stability as she could. Alex, meanwhile, was completely consumed by the idea of having a son. He spent more and more time with Angelica, discussing baby names and meticulously planning for their future. Samantha felt increasingly isolated and profoundly lonely. One evening, Samantha overheard a conversation between Alex and his mother. They were discussing how Angelica would undoubtedly make a better wife for Alex, and how Samantha should simply be grateful for whatever scraps of attention she received. A surge of raw anger and deep hurt coursed through Samantha. She decided, with a quiet resolve, that she couldn't take it anymore. The very next day, Samantha told Alex she was completely done with the marriage and wanted to leave him. Alex, not wanting her to take their daughters, coldly stated that if she was going to leave, she would have to leave the girls behind. This declaration ignited a furious rage within Samantha. She called Alex wicked, knowing with absolute certainty that she couldn't abandon her children in such a toxic environment, where Angelica would undoubtedly treat them poorly because of her own child. Trapped, Samantha decided to stay. One evening, Samantha again overheard a conversation. This time between Angelica and Alex's mother. They were actively plotting to make her life even harder, hoping she would eventually give up and leave for good. A powerful surge of anger, but also fierce determination, filled Samantha. She wasn't going to let them break her. She went directly to Alex and demanded that he put an end to their cruel behavior. She reminded him that she had stayed solely for the sake of their daughters, but she would no longer tolerate being treated this way. Alex, finally realizing the gravity of the situation, promised to talk to them. The confrontation, however, did not go well. Angelica and Alex's mother were furious that Alex had sided with Samantha. They accused Samantha of trying to manipulate him and make them look bad. The arguments escalated, making the household an even more stressful and hostile environment. Angelica gave birth to a baby boy, but just 6 months later, the baby fell critically ill and was rushed to the hospital. The doctors informed them the baby desperately needed a blood transfusion, but when they tested Alex's blood, it didn't match. This made Alex furious. He confronted Angelica, who, with a mixture of shame and desperation, revealed that she had slept with several men during her pregnancy. She confessed that none of them had accepted responsibility, and only Alex had agreed to take her and the baby in, which was why she had decided to stay with him. Alex was utterly devastated and consumed by anger. When they returned home, he unequivocally told Angelica to leave. She packed her things and departed, feeling ashamed and heartbroken. Alex's mother, witnessing the catastrophic turn of events, felt a deep pang of regret for the way she had treated Samantha. She approached Samantha, her voice filled with remorse, and sincerely apologized, admitting that she had been terribly wrong. Samantha, though still carrying the scars of the past, forgave her. Alex, too, approached Samantha, his apology heartfelt for all the pain he had inflicted. He expressed his profound remorse and solemnly promised to do better. Samantha, seeing that his repentance was genuine, forgave him. A few months later, Samantha discovered she was pregnant again. When they went for a scan, they were absolutely thrilled to learn she was expecting twin boys. The news brought a renewed wave of joy and excitement back into their lives. As Samantha's due date approached, Alex, eager to show his profound appreciation for her, bought her an expensive car as a push gift. A grand gesture to celebrate their growing family and to atone for his past mistakes. Samantha gave birth to the twin boys, and with their arrival their family grew even stronger. With Alex now fully committed and their relationship slowly but surely healing, they worked tirelessly to create a loving and supportive home for all their children. The myriad challenges they had faced only served to forge an unbreakable bond between them. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications for more inspiring tales. Stay blessed and thank you for your support.